Okay, guys, let's get started without any further ado. I guess everyone is here. So before we do a quick formal introduction on mine, my name is Mohammed Shoaib. I'm a cybersecurity trainer certified from EC Council. EC Council is the leading organization for trainings and certifications in the domain of cybersecurity. Okay. And again, the name of the course that we are going through right now is Certified Ethical Hacking version 12. Now, let's understand the main definition of hacking and how it is different from ethical hacking. Okay, because usually students have a misconception that hacking and ethical hacking might mean one and the same thing. But again, that's a very wrong idea, guys. Let's clarify that. So when you talk about hacking, guys, this is the procedure of trying to gain access to information systems. Now, what I mean by that, gaining access to information systems, is that if, let's say, if I've hacked your phone, it basically means I have complete access of that phone and the data it contains. So I can steal your data, I can destroy the data on your phone, and I can also sell your data to other people on the internet. Okay, and all of this is done without your permission or consent. So when you talk about information devices, it could not only be just a phone, it could also mean other devices as well, routers, your PC, personal computers, or even databases online, okay, which might contain millions of users of data. Okay, so when you talk about hacking, it is a procedure of gaining access to such information systems without the permission or knowledge of the organization owning those systems. And this can be performed by hackers for their own benefit. So again, they can steal the data, destroy the data, or sell that data to other people. And sometimes hackers are so mischievous, they can even do it just for fun. Now, when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, this is again, when you talk about hacking, this is a very malicious task, a very criminal activity. So usually students might have a question, how can this be ethical in the first place? How can this be legalized? So when you talk about ethical hacking, on the other hand, it is the procedure of trying to find vulnerabilities. Now, this term called vulnerability is something that you'll hear throughout the course, guys. Okay, it is the loophole or it is the weakness on the systems that hackers try to take advantage of and get access to the devices. So your job in ethical hacking is to find the vulnerabilities before the hackers do, with the consent or with the permission of the organization. And once you have found them, you report it back to the company. So once the vulnerabilities are reported, the company knows, okay, this is where the weakness lies and they need to patch it up. Okay? And once the security patch is applied, the vulnerability is removed and the hackers can no more exploit those flaws. Okay, they cannot cause any further harm. So with ethical hacking, you're trying to increase the security of the infrastructure by working hand in hand with the organization and by following all the rules and policies. Okay, is that clear, guys? Any questions or doubts in these definitions? What is hacking? What is ethical hacking? And how they are, I mean, quite different from one another?
Sir, it is related to penetration testing.
Yeah, kind of. Ethical hacking again is penetration testing is a part of ethical hacking for AI. Okay, so this is definitely related to that. So in ethical hacking, you perform penetration testing in order to check the security of a device, in order to check if the system is vulnerable to any attacks or if it is penetratable. I'll explain that in much more depth in in a few minutes. Okay. So any other questions, guys?
Very clear.
Manas, Venkatesh, I guess you joined the session yesterday, right? If I'm not wrong, did you join the demo yesterday? I remember you joining. Not sure if it is the same person or not.
No, actually, I'm new to this course.
Okay, okay, cool. Must have been a different person then. No problem, guys. So now, depending on these two definitions of hacking and ethical hacking, we can categorize the types of hackers as well. So there's someone known as a black hat hacker, gray hat hacker, and a white hat hacker. Black hat hackers are also commonly called as cyber criminals. These are the people who perform hacking for their own benefit without asking for consent. On the other end of the spectrum, you have white hat hackers, or also commonly called as ethical hackers. Okay, and these are the people who abide by the laws and policies of the organization, and they work for securing the infrastructure, for securing the organization from cyber threats. And in between, there's a third category called gray hat hackers. Now, these are the people who have both the properties of black hat hackers as well as white hat hackers. So like a black hat hacker, they don't ask for permission first, but once they find the vulnerability, they do report it back to the company. But there's a minor catch here. They don't do it for free. They do it in return for a bounty. A bounty is something which benefits the hacker for reporting the vulnerability back. So they do expect a financial reward in return for the vulnerability that is, given back to the company. Okay. Now, all these three types of hackers, whether you take black hat, gray hat, or white hat hackers, they perform hacking or ethical hacking in a certain procedure. And that procedure is called a hacking cycle or cyber kill chain. So when you work for an organization as well, the first question they ask you is to define your hacking cycle, define the procedure that you follow to find vulnerabilities and report it back to the company. So your organization EC Council has defined a very perfect or a very well-rounded hacking cycle, which consists of 5 important steps. Okay. And these are the same steps that are followed by any kind of hacker in any real-time scenario. So let me list out the steps first, and then we're going to discuss about each step briefly, so you have a better idea about the contents of the course and the topics that we learn throughout the course. Okay. So the first step is called as information gathering. Some organizations also refer to it as reconnaissance or footprinting. Second step is called as scanning, which can also be called as enumeration. Third step is called gaining access. Fourth step is maintaining access. And the last step is reporting or clearing traces. Now, if you carefully observe here, only in the last step I have mentioned the word or. The reason being, no matter what kind of a hacker you are, whether you be a white hat hacker, a gray hat hacker, or a black hat hacker, the first 4 steps are exactly identical. There's no change in the first 4 steps for any kind of hacking. What varies is only the last step. If you are a white hat hacker or a gray hat hacker, you report the vulnerabilities back to the company or the organization. On the other hand, if you're a black hat hacker, you don't report anything back. You try to remove all the evidences. You try to stay anonymous. You try to clear your tracks. Okay, try to delete the log files, and you see to that no one can trace you out. And that, in simple terms, is called as clearing traces. Okay, is that clear, guys? Any questions up to this part? If not, now we're going to learn about the first step, which is called as information gathering. Okay. So, any questions? Sheikh, Abdul, or Venkatesh, or Mas? Okay, perfect.
So far it's very clear. Thank you.
Perfect. Now, when you talk about information gathering, guys, as the name itself says, it is basically the step where a hacker or the ethical hacker tries to gather as much data as possible about the target. Sorry for that, guys. So, as I've mentioned, in information gathering, the hacker or the ethical hacker tries to gather as much data as possible from some certain resources on the internet. So again, this is a step where you try to again find all the resources or find all the data which is required to perform the attacks. Okay, so if I have to explain this with a much better example, let's take the example of a bank robbery. Okay, if I were a bank robber, the first thing that I have to do is observe that bank externally or passively. So without anyone noticing from the bank, I need to gather information about the bank. Okay, such as how many CCTV cameras are installed outside, how many security guards are placed outside the bank, and at what locations are they placed. Okay, when does the money deposit van come, and on what days on the week does it come, when does the bank open, when does the bank close, and what time are the security guards shifting. Okay, when is their duty or when is the shift changing. So all this information needs to be gathered discreetly from externally observing the bank. Okay, similarly, when you talk about this in cybersecurity, you try to gather information about the organization from other third-party resources on the internet. Okay, and again, the main question is what information do we need to gather at this step, and that is listed out here, as you can notice. Okay, so when you want to perform hacking or ethical hacking for a certain organization, you need to find the IP addresses, the range of IP addresses for the organization. IP addresses are the identity given to each server on the internet. So just like how we have names to communicate, devices have IP addresses. So we learn in much more detail what IP addresses are in the class, don't worry. Then we need the who's records, telling you who's hosting the website for them, when was their website first hosted, when will their website expire. All that information is stored in who's records. Then the DNS records, giving you information about their DNS servers and the data stored in their DNS servers. Okay, what domains are hosted, what subdomains are hosted by the organization, and what are the IPs for those domains and subdomains. All that is stored in the DNS records. Then you need the employee details, such as the contact numbers, their email addresses, and their usernames and passwords, which might have leaked on the internet. Okay, and the operating system information. What OS are they running? Are they running Linux servers or are they running Microsoft servers? All this information needs to be obtained. Okay. And the more information you obtain, the more possible attack vectors you find. Or what I mean by that is the more possibilities you find to attack the target organization. Okay. And believe it or not, all this information can be gathered directly from the internet. So whatever information you want for whatever organization it can be retrieved from some certain special websites on the internet. Okay. So just a second, guys, getting a call from the institute. Give me a minute. Khaja, in a demo session right now. Yeah, so sorry for that, guys. Now, again, once all this information has been gathered, then you go into the next phase. Can you hear me, guys? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Any questions or doubts up to this part, guys, regarding information gathering?
In information gathering, like if we are the ethical hackers, so we already have this information, right, sir? When we talk about
Not all the time, Shay. Depends on the method of pen testing. So depends on the method of ethical hacking that you perform. There are three methods actually: white box, gray box, and black box. Okay.
So
In white box,
if I
yeah.
in the white box, yeah. Okay, sir. Continue, sir. Sorry.
No problem. So in white box, there's complete transparency actually. The information is directly given to you by the organization. In gray box and black box, there is not much transparency. They might only give you certain pieces of information, like the domains and the subdomains. And from that, you have to retrieve the other pieces of information from the internet itself. So again, we'll learn all the techniques. We'll learn all the various methods in our course. Okay. So just in case, if you do not have any information at all other than the domain that you have to test, which is usually the case in bug bounty programs, we'll learn how to retrieve the other pieces as well. Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. Now, once you've gathered all this information, guys, this needs to be used in the next phase, which is called the scanning phase. So this is the this is the phase where you try to get some extra information by making active connections. So in the first phase, we got information passively in the sense without letting the organization know that we're gathering information about them. But not all information can be gathered that way. Sometimes you have to attack the target servers and retrieve information from them. Now, if I have to explain with the same bank robbery scenario, not all information can be gathered from outside the bank. You have to enter the bank once and check their infrastructure internally as well. Okay, so where are the cameras installed inside the bank? Okay. How many security guards are there inside the bank? Well, again, are there any other security measures inside the bank? And which corner of the bank or in which floor of the bank is the vault located? Okay, so in order to get that information, you need to enter the bank at least once. Okay, you need to make an active connection with the bank. What I mean by that is, if when you enter the bank, they can capture you in their security cameras. Similarly, in scanning as well, when you make active connections, your IP will be logged. They know that someone is trying to gather information about them. But again, it's quite a crucial step. It's quite necessary. Okay. Now, again, scanning can be also categorized in three parts. There's something called as network scanning, port scanning, and vulnerability scanning. In network scanning, you try to figure out on the target organization what all active devices are there. Okay, so how many firewalls do they have? How many ITS systems do they have? Intrusion detection systems, intrusion prevention systems. These are devices, again, security devices actually, to monitor and block attacks. Okay, and then how many routers do they have? How many client operating system devices do they have? How many servers do they have? What kind of servers are they using in their network? So all that falls under network scan, trying to get a network topology of all their internal devices. Once you get all the devices, then you perform port scanning on them, trying to figure out on those devices what ports are open and what services are running on them. Okay, so what applications or what protocols or what services are they running commonly in their organization. And once you retrieve that information, finally you perform vulnerability scanning, trying to figure out if any of those services or any of those applications are vulnerable to a certain attack. Okay, so again, it's a step-by-step procedure. You're finding devices first. On the devices, you're finding the open ports or services, and on those services, you're finding weaknesses to attack on. And during this phase, we're using two very important tools called Nmap and Nessus. So you can search for Nmap. It's quite a very popular tool even in today's world, even though it was initiated or created in 1997. This is still used in the latest applications to perform network and port scanning. Okay. So again, very predominantly used in organizations. So we'll work with this tool. I'll show you how to run this in your organization and perform port and network scanning. After that is done, you can install another tool called Tenable Nessus. This is the tool that is used to perform vulnerability scanning. Okay, so again, you can click on this link here, and quite an expensive tool actually. If you click on buy, you can notice it's around $6,000 for 1 year subscription. Okay, and again, luckily for us, we don't have to purchase this tool. There's a free trial version for this. I'm going to explain you how to install it and run the Nessus tool and understand how to use it in your organization as well. Basically, this can scan each and every device in your network and tell you which device contains what misconfiguration or what errors or what vulnerabilities. Okay, and once you have retrieved all that information, once you have known what systems contain what weaknesses, next phase is attacking all those weaknesses, and that is called as gaining access. Any questions up to this part, guys? For Manas, Venkatesh, Sheikh? Yeah, Sheikh.
I'm sorry, sir, to ask you this question. Actually, I don't know about what is open port.
Oh, again, so if you notice any system in Sheikh, there are two types of ports actually. There's something called as physical ports, and there's something called as logical ports. Physical ports are the ones that you see on the system. You can actually notice them on your device right now. They are USB ports, they are Ethernet ports, they are HDMI port, the charging port. These ports are the physical ports which allow you to transfer data from one system to the other system or transfer power. Similarly, just like these ports, there's another category called logical ports. These are not visible to you, they are logical, or you could say virtual ports. Okay, they are built on the operating system. And these ports, each of these ports is given for each protocol. So your system might run multiple services on it. DHCP service, DNS service, FTP service, Telnet service. Okay, these are some common protocols or common services that every system uses. And for each of that service, a port number is allocated. Okay, so you can also go to your browser and search for logical ports. Oh, sorry, logical ports, and you can notice, okay, a port is defined in software, a virtual port. Okay, it allows the receiving device to identify which application or service that data is destined for. So each service is given a port number, and on that port it receives the data for that certain service or protocol. Okay, is that clear, Sheikh? So
My question is,
yeah, Faria, go ahead.
sorry, sir. Sir, actually, my question is, you just told us about the Nmap. So there is a requirement of Python and C++ language, but I am aware of Java language. So is this necessary to this course? We have to learn some programming language like Java, Python, or something for scripting?
Not necessarily, Faria. Again, this application was built on those programming languages. Okay, but again, this has its own scripting language, actually its own query language. I'm going to show you what that query language is. For this course, you have no necessity to learn any programming knowledge or language. Okay, no C, C++,
Sir,
Java,
second
nothing.
thing is that, sir, I am not aware of also computer networking, because I think that there is a requirement of all this DNS and IP address. So we have to aware of all these things, and we have to learn about all these things, DNS, IP address, because I don't know all these things. I just know the coding and all these things. So it is necessary we have to go through all this portion, all this topic.
Great question, Faria. Again, yeah, you need to have knowledge on networking, but again, just in case if you don't, the reason being, again, not all people might be from a technical background, but again, we have designed this course in a certain way that even if you don't know these concepts, we're going to teach them to you. So before we dive into all these advanced concepts, the first class for you is going to be on networking. So if you go to my class notes folder, you can see this class 1. The first class that we'll have is on basic networking concepts. Okay, so we learn what IP addresses are, we learn what DNS protocol is, we learn what DHCP protocol is, what are the different categories of IP addresses. So we'll learn from the very fundamentals of networking. Okay, again, this course is designed in a way where people even from non-IT background can learn it. The reason being, whatever fundamentals or prerequisites are required, they are included in the course itself. I was about to mention that at the end of the demo today, but again, thanks for bringing it up much earlier. This gives me an opportunity to explain that. So again, guys, just in case, if you're not from an IT background and if you don't know what networking is or what Linux operating system is, or what these different protocols are, what are TCP protocols, what are these, again, as I've mentioned, port numbers, don't worry about any of that. I'm going to explain everything from the very scratch, from the very basics. So even if you belong from a completely non-IT background, you will still be able to understand this course very easily because all the prerequisite concepts are included in the course. Okay, is that clear?
Okay, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Now, coming back to the demo. So the next module is gaining access. This is actually the main core of the subject, okay, where you try to attack each and every endpoint. So again, it's a huge concept, covers a vast variety of topics here. As you can notice, there's something called as system hacking. First topic. In that concept, you're going to learn how do we crack or bypass any Windows operating system password. So if you have Windows 10 or Windows 11 or even older versions, I'm going to show you how hackers crack your passwords if they have access to your device, or if not, or even if they don't know how to crack the password, how can they easily bypass it and still access your data. So that's what we learn in system hacking. Then there's malware attacks. Malwares are nothing but malicious software. There's tons and tons of categories of malwares: viruses, worms, trojans, spyware, backdoor, rootkit, whatnot. We'll practically learn how to create each of these malwares, how to defend our system from malwares, and how to detect them if they're already secretively installed. Okay. Then there's a bonus concept called malwares advanced. Again, this is not a topic included in the official content or the official course material, but I'm going to share an extra Udemy course for free, where if time permits, after the CH course is done, you can learn this advanced course to build malwares using Python programming. Okay. Again, guys, for this course, there's no requirement for any programming. After this course is done, if you are interested in malware development, creating your own malwares, I'm going to share the resources for that. Okay. Then comes network penetration testing, where we learn what are the common attacks that could occur in a local network. Okay. So there's attacks like sniffing attack, man in the middle attack, denial of service attacks, or attacks on various servers. We'll learn all these attacks in this class. Okay, so using sniffing attacks or man in the middle attacks, hackers can try to intercept your data. So whatever usernames or passwords you type on your system, and when you're sending it to the internet, hackers can retrieve that data or capture that data in between and access your usernames and passwords. So we'll learn how do hackers do that and what tools they use for that. Similarly, there's DOS attacks, denial of service, where hackers can try to remotely shut down servers, okay, or remotely crash servers. So we learn how that is done as well. Then there's hacking wireless networks. How do you crack the Wi-Fi passwords for routers? All of this falls under network pen testing. Okay. Then comes social engineering, where we learn how do hackers create fake websites. Okay. So how do they make fake login pages for social media pages or bank login pages or even your organization's login page? How do they create these fake websites and send it to victims and retrieve their credentials? So these are commonly called as phishing attacks, which are on a rise in the recent times. They are very common, or they're spreading in huge numbers actually. So I'm going to show you how hackers perform these attacks and also how do you distinguish between an original page and a fake website. Okay, and how do you protect yourself from these attacks? Okay. Then comes the next part, which is web application penetration testing, where we learn the common weaknesses in websites. Okay. So again, these might sound very technical, guys, and very confusing terms. But again, don't worry, because when we learn the course, I'm going to explain each of these in much more in depth. Okay. So first concept in web application is SQL injection. How do you attack your SQL database and get access to that database without usernames and passwords? So we try to inject malicious SQL queries and try to get access to the database. Then there's cross-site scripting, where we learn how hackers can inject JavaScript code in websites, okay, and perform attacks like stealing cookies or injecting malicious scripts in other users' web pages. And then there's broken authentication, where you would learn how do hackers log in as other users without knowing the username or password. So by stealing their cookies, how can you log in as them without their password? Then there's file upload vulnerability, where you learn how to upload malicious file to a server and get complete access to the web servers. Okay, so you can remotely control the server delete the data on the server, do whatever you want. Okay. During this module, we'll be using a very important tool called burp-suit. Not sure if you've heard about it or not, but this is one of the most popular tools used for website security. Okay. Again, guys, the reason I'm showing you all these tools is just to let you know what all tools we will be using throughout the course and how they are actually used in real-time scenarios in organizations in today's world. Okay. Finally, after that, we have the last two concepts, VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. So in that concept, we'll be using a very important tool called Metasploit framework, which allows you to manually test each and every vulnerability. So from the Nessus report that you use, in the vulnerability scanning, when it shows you what weaknesses are there on your target system, this Metasploit tool tells you to verify or shows you how you can verify that vulnerability. Check if it's truly existing or if it's a false positive. Okay. So that is called as VAPT, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. You're assessing each vulnerability and verifying if it is actually truly available, truly again harmful to the system, or if it was just a false positive given by the scanning tool. Okay. And then finally, you have something called hacking mobile phones, where we learn how to attack Android phones. How do you send Trojans to Androids and get remote connections? So if you notice over here, we are trying to attack each and every endpoint. We are talking about system security, we're talking about network security, we're talking about Wi-Fi security, we're talking about web application security, and also mobile security. Okay, these are all the common devices that could actually exist in an organization. Okay. Any questions or doubts up to this part, guys, before we go into the next module?
Sir, actually, I want this one. I'm searching for that one, penetration testing, because in my previous company, I work on automation Selenium and there is a requirement of penetration testing. So this topic will be covered in this course, penetration testing.
Yeah, definitely. We will be covering that.
Yes, sir. And you also told just a minute ago about burp-suit. That thing I am searching in the YouTube and everywhere, but I didn't get any course material and anything. Burp-suit, it is Kali Linux, I think so. So through SQL injection, we just find out the loophole, and so these all things I just want to know, sir, because in penetration testing, we just through SQL injection and we just find out the loophole, and all these things are covered in this course.
Yeah, definitely. That's why I've mentioned them, Farah. So we'll learn what burp-suit is. I'll be sharing the resource to learn about burp-suit. Okay, so don't worry if you have not found them till now. I'll be sharing all the required resources to you to learn in much more depth about burp-suit, even of what we cover in the course. Okay, it's actually from a different course called. Yeah, again, it's a tool in Kali Linux. Okay, so it's one of the tools available in Kali Linux. It's a tool for performing pen testing on websites. Okay,
yes,
so we'll learn about burp-suit in detail. I'll show you how to install burp-suit as well. If not in Kali, how to install in Windows also, and how to run it. Okay, so whatever requirement you have, actually it's perfectly based on this course itself. So you'll be learning all the topics you have a requirement for in this course.
Okay,
okay.
Thank you.
Right. So once this is done, guys, there are two small topics left out, which are maintaining access and reporting or clearing traces. Now, these are the smallest topics in the whole course, okay, which don't even take more than 2 or 3 days to complete. So when you talk about maintaining access, it's about you maintaining persistent connections, which means once you've got a connection to the victim, even if he restarts this device, you should not lose that connection. So that's what maintaining access is. And finally, you have reporting or clearing traces, where we learn how do you generate a report with the pen testing after the pen testing is done to make the company understand what loopholes they have, or also how to learn how to remove the evidences. So we'll be learning the course in 2 tracks. One is ethical hacking, how do you defend your system, and also hacking. In order to defend, what attacks can be performed. So you learn the attacks as well, and you also learn how to defend your organization from those attacks. Okay. And again, as I've mentioned, guys, before we dive into all these advanced concepts, there's a few prerequisites to cover. So we'll learn about networking basics. Oh, just a second. I guess you must have got this documentation from the institute, guys, which covers, which gives you a list of all the topics covered in the course. So we learn about networking basics. We learn what IP addresses are, what are IPv4, IPv6 addresses, what are the networking protocols, DNS, DHCP, and all that. Then we learn about virtualization, which means how do you install virtual machines. Okay, so for this course we need a practical lab setup as well, So that lab setup is installed in an application called VMware. So I'll be sharing the VMware application to you. I'll show you how to install it. And in that VMware application, we will install an operating system called Kali Linux. Okay, so I'll show you how to install Kali Linux as well. Okay, and how to run a Linux operating system commands. Okay, so after all these prerequisites are done, then we dive into the advanced concepts. Okay, there's a few bonus concepts as well: cloud security, IoT security, again Splunk for SOC analysis. All these are again different courses altogether, but we learn about introductions of those courses. Okay, what those courses topics are and how do you progress further after CH is done. Okay, so the whole course is for a duration of around 35 to 40 days, guys. You'll have class at the same time at 9 p.m. every day, and we'll be having the first class day after tomorrow. Actually, tomorrow is a national holiday, so there's no class tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, we're going to have the first class on networking basics. Okay, so yeah, that's that, guys. Again, every class will be recorded. You'll be getting the recordings for each class, the live session recordings. You'll be getting the notes as well. All the notes for each class is already prepared. You don't need to create a separate notes. If you want, you can write a running notes or a rough notes side by side, but all the material, all the notes and recordings will be provided to you beforehand. So yeah, that's that, guys. Nothing further. The course is priced at 8,000 rupees, quite cheap. So again, not much compared to the other institutes that I'm teaching for. So again, there's other institutes that I teach for as well in Bangalore and in Mumbai. They're charging, and I'm the same instructor, the course content is same, and they're still charging around 15,000 to 20,000 for the same course. Might vary from, again, institute to institute. They have their own prices. But again, trust me, DurgaSoft is the one which provides the perfect course for you at the, again, minimum price. Okay. So again, if you have any queries or if you have any questions, you can let me know. Here's my contact number, guys. Let me drop it in the chat box. Yeah, so that's the number. So again, I would recommend that you please join the demo session again on Wednesday, day after tomorrow, where we'll talk about the first concept, networking basics. Okay. Oh, sorry, I guess I've not dropped the message to all of you. Let me put it to all. Yeah. +91 98499847778. Yes. So again, the institute has also mentioned its payment details, account numbers and stuff, guys. So if you want to initiate the payment, you can contact the institute. If the institute does not respond to you tomorrow, since it's a national holiday, just let me know. I'll forward your information to the institute as well. Okay. So yeah, that's that. Nothing further for our session. If you have any questions, you can let me know, guys. If not, we can exit the class and meet up again on Wednesday.
Hello.
Yeah, I have a few questions.
Yeah, Venkatesh.
So this is your number 984998478.
Yeah, 4778. Yeah, that's my number, Mans.
Sorry, can I call? Because my parents want to know about this course.
After, you can call me after this demo is done, Mans. Okay, so once this demo ends, after that, after I end the session, you can make a call.
I said to my parents that
Sure. Yeah, Venkatesh, were you asking something?
Yes. Yeah,
like
after completion of this course, can we participate in any kind of bug bounties? Can we expect that?
Bug bounties are usually for the web application vulnerabilities, Venkatesh. So this course covers basics of that. You're not going to go in depth in bug bounty, but although after this course is done, if you're interested, I do teach bug bounty separately. So I specialize in web application vulnerability testing. So there's a separate course that I provide after the CES is done for students who are interested for the advanced level course.
Okay.
So again, that is a much more recommended course for bug bounty, Venkat. But again, in order to understand bug bounty, you need to understand the vulnerabilities, so or the fundamentals actually, what tools you use for bug bounty. So that is covered in CEH. So I would recommend that you go with CEH first, and after that is done, you can contact me for bug bounty separately, and we can take up that course on weekends.
Yes, sure, definitely. Like, if this is also DurgaSoft is taking care about this one, else it is up to you.
No, this is my private course, Venkatesh. DurgaSoft only teaches certified ethical hacking. So if you're interested for bug bounty after CS is done, you can directly join that course or enroll that with me.
Sure, definitely. Actually, I'm also looking for that one, like, as a part of a different one. And I have, like, somebody has already asked regarding the prerequisite that you have already shared that information. And as
Right.
a part of this course, as a part of this course, generally Suite is a licensed tool, right? And you have mentioned about a few other tools, and map, enablenesses, and
Mhm.
meta spoiler tool. You have quite a lot you mentioned on this day. So like all these tools, like some of the tools are licensed, and Suite is also licensed. So are you guys providing any kind of a crack softwares, cracked one, so that
Uh,
we can use it?
90, almost 90% of the tools that I've shown you are open source on Venkatesh. So the Nmap tool,
Okay, good.
okay. So again, that is also open source. Kali operating system, that's also open source. Most of the tools in Kali are open source. And one more, Burp Suite has two versions actually. There's a free version also and a commercial license version also. So in the commercial version, you
Okay,
have automated scan, and the free version you can perform manual testing. So in our ethical hacking
okay,
course, we'll be working on the free version, which is more than sufficient for
okay,
performing website security tests. Okay, so there are some applications which are licensed. There's no free version. For that, I'm going to share the cracked version, the VMware version, VMware application, you remember? So to install the
yes,
virtual machines, that I'll be sharing the cracked
yes.
version. Okay, and whatever applications I'm sharing, they're completely safe. Nothing wrong, nothing to worry about. But 90% are open source.
Okay.
Some tools are cracked. Okay, so that's the deal.
And currently, this the course is suitable for both Windows, those who is having a Windows laptop, and Mac also is fine. Or
Yeah,
else
yeah,
you
anything.
specifically suggest any kind of
I would
anything is
suggest
fine, right?
Windows operating system if that's feasible. If not, if you have a Mac, that's also fine. You have to use alternative tools called VirtualBox rather than VMware. But again, VirtualBox
Oh,
interface is not so great. So I would recommend you have a
okay,
Windows system. If not, no compulsion.
okay. Sure. Thank you so much for the
Sure.
solution.
Yeah,
Is
Sheikh.
Shoaib
that
sir,
the
how
sec-
many hours?
Go
How
on,
many?
please. Start.
We'll have one hour class every day, Sheikh. So from 9 p.m. to around 9:40 or 9:50 at least. Okay. And the course is again, as I've mentioned, for 35 days. So you'll have a 5 days a week class from Monday to Friday for 4 to 5 weeks.
Okay, and how many hours do I have to practice at home, sir? Like if I wanted to be a certified ethical hacker, so what's your
Again,
recommendation? Like,
on a minimum basis, at least like on a week, you would need to practice for 10 hours or so, I guess, Sheikh. So on a daily basis, at least 1 hour or 1.5 hours. So that should be sufficient to crack the certification. Okay, and after the course is done, I would recommend at least 1 month's practice to remember all the concepts, revise all the concepts, and pass through the mock exams. Okay, so that's the minimum I would recommend.
okay, sir. Okay, thank you.
Right. Any other questions, guys?
The second course, first course completion, then we will go for second course, because the thing which I want, it is second course, penetration testing or WASP. So it
Yeah.
is compulsory. Yes,
Yes.
because if after completion of both courses, can I am eligible for crack the interview for the penetration testing and cyber security designation
Yeah,
for any company?
yeah. For again, as when you talk about pen testing, there are multiple streams in pen testing. There's network pen testing, cloud pen testing, web pen testing. Okay, so we'll be covering all those aspects up to intermediate level in CH. And after CH is done, you have basic idea on web application pen testing as well. But if you want to go in depth on that, then you have to go for the second course. Okay. So again, if you're looking specifically for web application, that's the path I would recommend. Go with CH first, and after CH is done, you can contact me specifically for web application pen testing, and we can take that course over the weekends. That would take another month or so. So yeah, that is the path I would recommend. But again, you can't directly go to WAPT for it unless and until you know the fundamentals and the tools such as Kali operating system from CH.
You take any project for this all this thing, and through project you can explain, you will explain all this portion, all this points regarding
Not
to.
like project for but again, because you're not developing anything here, so you won't be creating something. But we have the lab setup. As I've mentioned, we have a few vulnerable systems which are specifically built to run these tools on safely and to understand the practical aspect of these tools. So we will have a practical lab setup with already pre-installed again vulnerable systems on which we can perform the various attacks. So that is what you're not going to develop anything here, because you're testing security. You're not creating anything. So again, it's not kind of a project, but it's a practical lab setup that we'll have to run and to understand all the tools properly.
Like, are you gonna provide us access, sir, for that lab? Like, we can access that lab, so for
Yeah,
our
again,
personal practice.
I'll be letting you install this lab on your local system, Sheikh. So you will have access to lab 24/7 on your device itself.
Great,
Okay.
great. Thank you, sir.
Sir, what is the cost of both course? First one and second one? And how much it will take time? How much it will take time to complete both the first one and second one?
Around 2.5 months for him. So 35 days or so for CH, and another 25 to 30 days for the VAT. Okay. CH is priced at 8,000 rupees from DurgaSoft itself, and the VAT, the advanced course, is priced at 12,000 rupees. Okay. So again, that is on my basis. Okay. So that's not from DurgaSoft, guys. Again, please note. So do not ask about VAT with DurgaSoft, because they have no information about that. They do not provide that course. That's the course that I provide separately to students, whoever is interested. Okay. So
Okay, sir.
after
Okay,
the CH course is done, guys, you can let me know if anyone is interested. Then we can take the VAT course. Okay.
Sir, we can contact you on the given number which you have provided in the chat box.
Yes.
Okay,
that
sir.
has
Okay.
WhatsApp.
Thank you.
That has WhatsApp as well. So if you have any further queries, you can just drop a message on WhatsApp, or you can call me as well.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay, sure. Thank you, sir.
So yeah, that's done, guys. Nothing further. I'm gonna exit the session now, and I'll see you again on Wednesday, day after tomorrow, for the first class on networking. Please do not miss the class, guys. It's gonna be one of the most important fundamental classes to get started with the course. Okay. Bye-bye.
Is this
Have a good night.
same link that we have to join on Tuesday? I mean, day after tomorrow as well.
Yes, same link, guys. Same link and same time. 9
Sure,
p.m.
sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Have a great.
Good night, guys.
Sure.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Good night, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Sure. Sheikh, I'll give you a call after the class. Yeah, Manas, you can call me as well. Sure. Bye-bye, guys. Good night.